Hello and welcome to A Homespun House. My name is Molly and I am the maker behind A Homespun House, and I'm really happy to be here for another week to share all of my makes with you, all of the yarn that I've been dyeing, and maybe here and there a little bit of what we've been up to. So last week I shared with you all of my woes and troubles in trying to find the perfect oversized cardigan. I spoke with you about the cardigan that I wear all the time that was store-bought, and it's just a really comfortable oversized cardigan. So I had a search on Ravelry in trying to find this, and I had no luck in finding exactly what I was looking for. So what does one do when you can't find what you're looking for but create it yourself? So I decided to use two yarns from A Homespun House. And one of those is the Homespun House Jumbo Chunky yarn. I'm looking around because I have a little basket here of yarns to show. And I'm just having a look to see if I have them on hand. So here we have the Homespun House Jumbo Chunky yarn. And it's absolutely beautiful. This is a 50-50 hand spun yarn, a singles. This is alpaca and Highland wool. And then here we have a 70 baby alpaca, 70 silk, and 30% baby mohair. And these are so fantastic together. They've really been a dream to work on. So I have been creating my own cardigan pattern, and it's going to be a one-piece design. It will not have seaming. That's just kind of what I really enjoy doing. I think seaming definitely has its place. I know that there will be some seamed garments in my future, but for the style of this cardigan and what I'm looking for, I decided not to do a themed cardigan, even though it is very heavy. I still think that the strength of this garment will definitely hold up. So I have the body pretty much done. This is going to be very oversized. Last week I talked about possibly doing one or two patterns, definitely one size for sure. But I'm thinking I'm just going to go with this one size. I'll see how it fits once I'm finished, fingers crossed, or pressing my thumbs in, as Germans would say. They don't cross fingers, they push their thumbs. This design will be finished next week. So I'm going to try this on. I'm generally a size 34, 36. It really depends. But I'm thinking that this is going to be very oversized on myself. So I'm going to have my testers be probably European sizes 38, 42, 46, 52, so on and so forth. So that's kind of the ideal. We'll see how this fits me when I try it on. But I am loving the way that this is knitting up. I'm adoring the way that this feels. I've already dreamt up the next two colorways that I'm going to use to knit this cardigan. I definitely want to use a Homespun House Comfort, which is my absolute favorite colorway at the moment. And then I don't think I grabbed a skein of it, unfortunately, but I really want to use a Homespun House Barley and then maybe even Rosewood, Rose Gold. So those are kind of the next ideas of cardigans that I'm going to use for that. I'll release the name once the test is released to testers. So I'm having a lot of fun knitting on that. I have not knit with alpaca in a long time, but as I mentioned, I think that the Highland wool, because it's so sturdy and strong, along with that silk mohair content, I don't think it's going to be too drapey at all, even though it is going to be quite heavy. I'm thinking that it's going to be more of a jacket for the spring. It's going to be something really, really nice that I'm able to wear while I'm outside instead of a coat and still just around the house. I hate heating. I do not really like air conditioning. I really enjoy our wooden stove for the winters, and air conditioning it all just makes me feel quite claustrophobic, and I just love fresh air, so I have to have my windows open, which is, now as I'm speaking, you can hear the loud car go by. But anyway, so yeah, I finished Ruby's pullover, as I showed you last week, the one that was based off of the cardigan that my grandma knit many, many years ago. I fell deeply in love with it and wanted to self-design and replicate something for my two girls. So I knit this one for Ruby initially. This is out of a Homespun House Sandcastles colorway. And then the color work piece is Sandcastles again, and then with chocolate fondue as the brown tonal. And Ruby loves it. This is a Homespun House cashmere MCN base, so it's a 70-20-10. 70 being superwash merino, 20 being a non-superwash cashmere, and 10 being nylon. And it's fantastic. Elodie loved it. I'm not going to go on about the whole story because I know a lot of you listened to it last episode, that she loved it so much that she asked me if I would knit one for her. And of course I said yes, even though I was very hesitant, because as I mentioned, I knit Ruby's while I had the cardigan that my grandma knit in front of me on the table at many times. Sure, there are definitely some areas where I just knit in stockinette stitch or wasn't doing increases or decreases or trying to figure out a cable pattern. But it definitely was one that I made up as I went. And while it still is quite simple, if you don't write down any notes, which I did not, it can possibly be quite a bit of a headache to then try and replicate that again and make it grow in size. So that piece fit Elodie lovely. It was almost a perfect fit for her. However, when you wear a pullover, you generally want it to be something that is a little bit loose and cozy. And I thought that that would be really great for Elodie. So Elodie chose my hopscotch colorway. And this is one that I really love. I thought that she would go ahead and pick my Double Dare colorway, but she went for hopscotch, which is great because it's a colorway that I really love. So this was so much more simple to replicate than I thought. I did a tubular cast on, which is what I did with Ruby's. I feel like a tubular cast on is so worth it when you have a crew neck for sweaters, because it's usually quite tight to your neck and it has to go over your head really easy and loosely and not have it be a struggle. And so tubular cast-ons, I think, couldn't be more perfect for that. And they create the most beautiful look. Yeah, I think there's nothing better for a crew neckline. Then I did the cables here. Hers is definitely larger than Ruby's. I can't remember the approximation of how many stitches it is than Ruby's. I think maybe 12 to maybe 18 stitches larger in circumference than hers, because she still wants it to be quite fitted. She doesn't like at all, to be honest, very oversized garments. She as well likes quite form-fitted ones. So I did all of my raglan increases. I think it looks so pretty. And now I've put the arms on scrap yarn, and this is actually the exact colorway that I will be using for her colorwork section, and that is the Sandcastles colorway as well. So now I'm just working down the body, and it's just simple stockinette from here on out. I am using Haya sharps. They are 4-inch tips, and the sizes that I'm using for this pullover are 3.5 and 2.5. 2.5 for the ribbing and then 3.5 for the body. I really, really love the gauge and fabric that gave me for fingering weight yarn. 3.5 is kind of my sweet spot for fingering weight yarn. I adore so much the texture that it gives me. If I'm knitting a shawl, that's generally the size that I will use. I almost never knit fingering weight on a 4mm needle. I know most shawl patterns call for it, but I like the texture of a 3.5, and gauge is different from person to person. So many people who do get that 4mm gauge for a shawl or pullover, etc., I get a 3.5. So my knitting must just be a little bit looser than most people's. It could be tighter than most people's. So gauge is really where it's at. So yeah, I'm really enjoying knitting on this. I would love to have this finished by next week. That is, I feel like, the most insane goal ever. But I finished Ruby's in 2 weeks, I think. And while Elodie's is a little bit bigger, I still feel like it could possibly be doable to have this finished in 2 weeks. So like I said, I'm knitting the Fair Isle or Colorwork section, sorry, out of Sandcastles, and her main pullover out of this one, which is Hopscotch. And it works perfect because this is how much I have left from Ruby's pullover. So it's nice to be able to use a bit of that up. And I think the colors marry so well together. So that's lovely. And I'm really enjoying the Haya Sharps. I do not generally buy new needles at all because I have quite a good collection. I have a lot of different interchangeable sets. I had never used the Haya needles before until I cast on my Alpine shawl, which is the shawl that I've been knitting for Robert. And I'm knitting his out of the Haya Sharps, an interchangeable set, which I completely adore. And so while I knit Ruby's on the Zings, I was knitting it in Magic Loop, and I really did not enjoy. I enjoyed knitting on it, but every time I had to switch needles for the Magic Loop, I didn't enjoy it. And the tips of the Zings were not sharp enough for me to do the make one left and make one right increases for the raglan. So that was, it wasn't nice for me. And I told myself that if I were to knit another garment just like that, I would not use the Zings again, and I would go ahead and purchase. I believe these are 40, they're 4-inch tips. I think I mentioned that. And then they're 40-centimeter cable. So they're very, very small. And I think that these will be great to use for a hat in the future. I thought about knitting a sockhead hat for Robert soon. And maybe when I finish this, I'll make him a sockhead hat because I probably will need a 2.5 or 3.5 millimeter needle for that. And I have some great colorways that I know he would love in a sockhead hat. So this one's a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to getting to the colorwork section to see how Hopscotch and Sandcastles play together once they're actually being knit. And it will be so fun to have them each have a pullover made by me because right now they don't. And I'm happy that Elodie wants a knitted pullover made by me. Every time she sees me knitting on it, she gets really, really excited. And that makes me really, really excited. I haven't knit at all on Robert's shawl because I have been knitting so much on the chunky oversized cardigan for myself and for all of you. I am beyond thrilled that you guys are so excited for that pattern. I can't tell you how much more excited that makes me, to be honest, because you know, like I said, I was searching for a pattern high and low and I couldn't find at all what I was looking for. So to hear that so many of you have been doing that as well and are excited and trusting me in the hopes that I will make something that you will like as well makes it's really pushing me to hurry up and knit it and create it so that we can all have these comfortable, oversized, chunky, wear all everywhere cardigans. But I do want to show it to you because I still think it's really pretty, and I must be knitting these on the 5-inch tips. I would definitely guess that. So these are Haya Sharps 3.5 as well. So like I said, my sweet spot in knitting. And this is the Water Reservoir colorway, and then Get Lost. I'm not sure if there's any Get Lost in the shop. There might possibly be, but there's definitely Water Reservoir. I try to keep the tonals pretty much constantly stocked on all bases. And I've seen that a lot of you have been knitting lots of pullovers and jumpers and cardigans out of a lot of the tonals, so that's been really fun to see. If you ever want to do custom order for any of my yarns, feel free to write me an email, and I'm always happy to dye up custom sweater quantities of yarn for you. So I have done a little bit of knitting on Robert's sock, and I am knitting his sock out of our Woods colorway. This was a one-of-a-kind mini that went along with a sock kit. that I did for February's monthly yarn club. And then I'm knitting it out of Frida. This is the main foot of the sock. I'll show it to you in just a minute. Then this is Shockwave. I've been trying to duplicate this because so many of you have loved it, but maybe sometime. I can't figure out how I dyed it. It was very much a happy mistake, but kind of a bum. I was quite bummed about the mistake as well because I was like, oh, this is amazing. How did I do that? So I think I was probably just about right here the last time that we spoke. And here you can see I have Woods and then Frida in here. I don't know if I mentioned, but Frida we were going to name Ruby. Was one of basically the other name that she would have been named had she not become Ruby. But I also mentioned the artist Frida as well. There are so many. Frida is just a really awesome creative name. So this is how far along I am with this. They look beautiful. This is a pair of socks that I only take with me and I only knit on when I'm bringing the girls to bed until I get to the heel. Then of course, while I can see, I will knit the heel and I'm going to do a heel flap and gusset. And I have quite a bit more of a leg on here. The last pair of socks that I knit for Robert, I don't even remember how much yarn they used. 150 grams or so, maybe 125, 130, somewhere between 130 and 150. But these ones will definitely use more because he definitely wants a much longer leg. So I probably have quite a bit more to go on here, but that's okay. He has a pretty good collection of handmade socks and he doesn't really need these until fall. So they're really enjoyable to knit on. I think all of the projects that I'm knitting on are MCN base 70, 20, 10, which I already mentioned, and I just love it. I really do. I really, really love it. I love to use the yarn while I'm knitting on it, but I love it so much after it's washed and you're wearing it. It just feels so fantastic. It does not have any ounce of itch in it at all. And I feel like the fact that Elodie will wear it up against her skin says so much. It says so much. So in the shop, we always have littles in the shop, and you can get those in pairs of 5, 8, 10, 12, and then 24. I had the 24 up there when I was doing advent calendars because I know a lot of people were sad that they weren't able to get them, but I still have people buying 24 littles. So I'm gonna keep it up there for a while. So here are different sets. These ones are actually all being shipped out. I just grabbed them really quickly because I love when you buy littles and you put a note, because I have such a collection of littles that I dye up for the shop that you never really know exactly what colors people like. So it's really, really nice for somebody to put a note of, I only want plum merino. I only want soft sock. I only want gold stellina. I want a mixture of everything. These are the colorways or colors that I like. You know, I really love jewel toned. I love neons, so on and so forth. You get the picture. So here's this one. Just a couple random little collections of littles thrown together here. So these two are very different. This person really wanted blues and purples, and this person really wanted kind of natural pink toned colors. So also a really, really fun little set that I have in the shop is Harry Potter themed little set. In a Homespun house, we currently have 5 Harry Potter themed colorways that are pretty much, I try to keep them in stock most of the time. My other Harry Potter colorways are always one of a kind, and they are club colorways. So January through December, I have a Harry Potter yarn and charm club that is with Sucre Miniatures, and you can sign up for the charm and yarn or the yarn alone. And right now we have all charm ones have been sold out, and so we have the yarn. So feel free to sign up for that. That will be closing mid-March. So there isn't much longer to sign up, but there still is a bit of time. So I have a little set that I have in the shop, and that has 5 20-gram skeins of all of our in-stock Harry Potter yarns. And I think this would be so fantastic to use for heels, cuffs, and toes, stripes in a shawl. I think these would look so amazing striped in a pullover, cardigan, even in a shawl with a really, really lightly speckled yarn. We have some colorways, like I'll just grab this one quick. If you're a bird, I'm a bird. This would look so fantastic with these speckles on top. I also have a colorway called Collins that would look amazing with this speckled on top. Fresh sheets would look stunning with these. So this is something that I always want to try to keep stocked in the shop as well, because I think they're pretty amazing and they're so much fun to dye up. I did just dye, because we were out of stock, a ton of Half-Blood prints, speaking of Harry Potter, and this will be in the shop on Monday, so look forward to that. I also just dyed up today Mirth. I don't think I've dyed up that colorway for probably a year. Why? Don't ask me, because it used to be one of my favorite. I've knit a pair of socks and 2 hats out of it, and I popped up a photo on my Instagram feed sometime last week, and it made me think, why have I not dyed up Mirth in so long? But that's in the dye pots all around me right now, and you can have a look on my Instagram feed to see how that colorway looks knit up. So as I showed you, I have, if you're a bird, I'm a bird. This is Hopscotch, which is the same colorway that I'm using for Elodie's pullover. Another colorway that hasn't been in the shop in ages is Disaster Piece. Love this colorway. I have Heart-Shaped Box. I wanted to show you guys this Whimsy colorway because it's so much fun. And this is our new singles base. We've had it for quite some time, but you can see it's so much more squishy and plump. The micron count of this merino is so much more amazing than our other singles base. It's fantastic. I also have You Cook, I'll Sing. Rhythm is a Dancer. Party on My Needles out of this would be so amazing. With, I can grab, this is a different Hopscotch. This is actually not Hopscotch, this is called Comfort. I showed you that totally wrong. This is Hopscotch. This is the colorway that I'm using for Elodie's pullover. And then I have World on Fire. This colorway is pretty amazing, if I do say so myself. This is a colorway that I talked about before that I am pretty in love with. It's called Blackberry Jam. It's a really, really deep purple. And I've dyed up quite a few different yellows for the shop. This one's called Sunny. And I just noticed that yellow is totally lacking in the indie dyed world. So I dyed up a bunch of different shades of yellow. And I think Sunny is so soft and buttery and beautiful. I also have Electric Feel for those of you neon lovers. I have that knit into my Penguono. So fantastic. So yeah, it's Sunday. We have been just relaxing so much. We planned on having company over, but both of the girls have a little bit of a fever. Nothing, you know, too serious. Fever just means the body is working, and so it's just been quite a bit of a relaxing day. I made some chocolate chip cookies. I love chocolate. I probably eat about 2 to 4 pieces of chocolate a day with my coffee. I was talking to my mom today and I told her it's probably so much more dangerous for me not to have chocolate around than to have chocolate around, because then I bake. I don't bake very much at all because I feel like it's just so unhealthy. I know there are a lot of healthy recipes out there, but for the most part, I feel like it's pretty unhealthy. So anyway, I made some chocolate chip cookies today, vegan of course, and they turned out so fantastic. Being vegan, I feel like it can be really difficult to find delicious dessert recipes. I tried to make my 500th batch of vegan brownies yesterday. They turned out horrible. The vegan cookie recipe that I tried today was so fantastic. We all loved it. So I had that with a cup of coffee, and yeah, we've just been hanging out together, relaxing. I've spent most of my day, I dyed a little bit of mirth when the girls took a nap, and well, quite a lot of mirth. There will be a big mirth addition to the shop. And all of my knitting time, because we've just been relaxing together, playing board games and just coloring. The girls have been doing a lot of just cozying and coloring with their Brettchen on the couch, and I've been doing a lot of knitting on Elodie's pullover, so that's been so much fun. And like I said, it's really exciting to see Elodie be excited to see me knit on it. So going to go and get back to that, hanging around together in the living room and doing a bit of knitting, probably listen to some music, because music is on constantly in our house. I breathe it, I eat music. It's like the best thing ever. It makes me whole, it tears me apart. It does everything. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to go and spend time together. I hope that you guys have had a really fantastic weekend, and I really look forward to seeing you soon.